I'm sure you understood how the calculator can be effectively used to calculate. Now that we have seen that, let's see how we can apply these concepts over here for compound interest. Now we learned how to use a calculator, but we also get back to the earlier concept of what the various quantities in compound interest mean. So let's quickly write down the formula. You have A is equal to P into 1 plus R by N raised to T into N, where R is the rate. So amount, so let's see the same rate and everything for 4 years compounded annually. If you want to calculate for compounding annually, amount would be equal to 10,000, that is P, into, since it's annual, N is going to be 1, so it's going to be 0.1 raised to 4 if it is compounded annually, because there are 4 1-year period and the rate is 0.1. Suppose it is half yearly, how do we do it? It's going to be the same 10,000, 1 plus 0.10 divided by 2 raised to 2 into 4, because there are now 2 half-yearly periods in each year, so there will be 2 into 4. Suppose it is quarterly, A would be equal to 10,000 into 1 plus 0.10 by 4 raised to 4 quarters in each of the 4 years. So it's going to be 4 into 4, which is N into T. If it's monthly, it's going to be 10,000 into 1 plus 0.10 by 12, because there are 12 monthly periods, raised to 12 into 4, 48 times it will be compounded. Suppose it is compounded fortnightly, A would be equal to 10,000 into 1 plus 0.10 upon 24, because there will be 24 fortnights in a year, raised to 24 into 4. So there will be so many times. This number to which it is rate, it tells how many times it will be compounded in that given period of time. And if it is done daily, the amount is going to be the same principle, 1 plus 0.10 upon 365 raised to 365 into 4. So in each of these cases, the amounts would change marginally maybe, but there will be definitely, because when you're increasing this power by accordingly, you're also dividing it. So there is a kind of compensation taking place, but still, since it is a compounding taking place, the number of times interest is added on interest increases. So as the period becomes shorter and shorter, the amount of interest earned will definitely become slightly marginally more. Hence, this is one very important exercise one has to understand. Students often increase this number but forget to divide the rate by the corresponding number of periods. So, or the rates are divided by the corresponding period and the number of times has not changed. So, you have to do both of them. Division by the number of period and multiplying by the number of periods. That is, the power has to be multiplied by the number of periods. Okay. Further, okay, now let's take up this first problem. Principal is rupees 1000, R is 5% per annum, N is 4. What is the amount and what is the compound interest? So, compound interest, of course, is going to be P into 1 plus R raised to N minus 1. This is how we have it. Because this alone itself is amount minus P, you have this. So, in this case, compound interest is going to be, so you make 1000 and 5% per annum. So, it will become 1 plus 0.05, that is 1.05 raised to 4 such periods. That is raised to 4 minus 1. So, what do we do here? We have 1.05 multiplied by itself. So, it turns out to be 1.215. From that you subtract 1 and you get this into, so you get 215.5 is the compound interest, and the amount will be, of course, the principal plus the compound interest compound. So it turns out to be 1215.50. So it is option number A. So the amount is 1215.50 and the compound interest is this. Of course, there is another way of doing it. You can just calculate the amount as usual using A is equal to P into 1 plus R by 100, or you can, if you're leaving it as a percentage, raised to n, and after that you subtract the value, this value, from that you subtract P. That will give you the compound interest. So we have the answer as 1215.50 and the compound interest is 215.50. Okay, so that was a simple problem. And furthermore, we have here amount is 10,000, N is 18 years, R is 4%, compound interest P would be what? So we have here, let's see what the formula is. A is equal to P into 1 plus R raised to N. So amount is 10,000 and P is something we don't know, and it's 4% per annum. Now this is where the candidates have to read. If it's not mentioned, it is calculated annually. Other would mention rate is 4% per annum compounded annually, semi-annually or quarterly. Then you have to change it accordingly. So this is 1 plus 4%. 4% is 0.04. So it's 1.04 raised to 18. We have been asked to find the principal. So what can we do? We can do 1.04, raise it to 18 times. So it's 4, 2, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, then we can store it in the memory, and then we take 10,000 divided and we have 4936.28. You're getting principal as 4936.28. Principal is around 4,936.28. So its principal is 4936.28. Now among these this seems to be closest, but the difference is way too much, so it has to be none of these. So it is none of these. So this is how we can use the calculator effectively. Furthermore, now rupees 100 will become after 20 years at 5% per annum compound interest. The amount would be what? So here you have, let's always note down what these quantities are. P is 100. What it would become, the present value is 100 and the number of years is 20. Rate is 5%, so it's 0.05, right? So A is going to be P into 1 plus R raised to N. Now since we have number of periods is 1 per year, so it's 1. So it's going to be 100 into 1.05 raised to 20. So let's see what we have. 0.5 into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So you get 265 odd rupees, 265.32 roughly. So it is 265.32, and which is roughly equal to this. So we can take this as the correct answer, 265.32. So roughly, if it's in a few paise here and there, this can be taken as the answer. So 265.50. Okay. Furthermore, we have amount is rupees 1000 and is 2 years, R is 6% per annum compound interest payable half yearly. So here there are half years. So again here what do we have? Amount. So A is equal to P into 1 plus R by N raised to Tn. So in this case it's going to be 1000 is equal to principal, we do not know, 1 plus R. R is 6%, which is 0.06, and you have to divide by 2 half years. So it's going to be 0.06 divided by 2, that is 0.03 raised to Tn. Okay, so then N is equal to 2 years. So in 2 years, there are 2 half years per year. So it's going to be 2 into 2, 4. So again, we calculate, it's going to be 1.03 multiplied by itself twice, 4 times. So you can keep it in memory. Then we take 1000 divided by memory equal to 888 approximately. P turns out to be 888 rupees, around 60 paise or something here, but which is roughly 888. So this is actually 1000 divided by 1.03 raised to 4, which is 888.60. The closest answer is to this is this. So you get 888.80 is the principal. Okay. Next in line, of course, we have the compound interest on rupees 16,000 for 1.5 years at 10% per annum payable half yearly. So we have 1.5 years. So in 1.5 years, there are 3 half yearly periods. So in that case, compound interest is going to be P bracket 1 plus R by N raised to Tn minus 1. This is obtained from the fact that compound interest will be amount minus the principal. You can take P as a common factor. Now principal is 16,000 and you have 10% per annum. So it's going to be 5% for every 6 months term. So it's going to be 1 plus 0.05 raised to, in 1.5 years there are 3 such half year terms, minus 1. So now this turns out to be 1.05 twice minus 1 into 16000. Turns out to be 2,522. So the compound interest turns out to be 2,522. Simple calculations. Even with a simple regular calculator, you don't need a scientific calculator, you can go ahead and do these calculations. Yes, and we do have 2,522. Next in line is a situation like this. You have the compound interest on rupees 4,000 for 6 months at 12% per annum payable quarterly. For 6 months, so we have the principal compound interest again is going to be P into 1 plus R by N raised to N into T minus 1. So again the principal is 4,000 and you have 1 plus R by N, it's 12% per annum. So it's going to be 12 by 4 quarters raised to, for 6 months there are 2 such half years. So we have compound interest for 6 months minus 1. So it's going to be, let's see, that's going to turn out to be 4,000 into 12 by 0.12 by 4, of course. So it's going to be 1.03 raised to 2 minus 1. So let's see what we have. 1.03 into, okay, minus 1. So it turns out to be around 243.60. Just note this, they have told two concepts for rate: payable quarterly. That means in every year there are 4 such quarter year period, and hence you have this n as 4. But they have asked you to consider only for 6 months the interest. So there are only 2 such quarter years in 6 months. So we have such n into t. Hence 2 into, in every 6 months there are 2 such quarters. So we have, hence we have it this way. Right. So we have 243.60 is the interest. So we have 243.60. Right. Yes, we do have a tally with what we got. So what do we have here? You have Mr. X borrowing rupees 5,120 at 12.5% per annum compound interest. At the end of 3 years, the money was repaid along with the interest accrued. The amount of interest paid by him is so and so. Now here obviously it's being compounded just once a year annually because no specific period has been mentioned. So R is going to be 12.5%, which is 0.125, and P is 5120, and N is 3. So you have been asked to find CI, which is going to P into 1 plus R raised to N minus 1, which will be 5120 into 1 plus R, that is 1.125 raised to 3 minus 1. So it's going to be 1.125 into minus 1 into 5120. So you get 2170. So we get 2170 as the right answer. Okay, yes, it does tally. Now what do we have here? Now if rupees 1000 be invested at interest rate of 5% and the interest be added to the principal every 10 years, then the number of years in which it will amount to rupees 2000 and so and so. Now here we have a slightly tricky situation. Now see, 1000 be invested at interest rate of 5% and the interest be added to the principal every 10 years. Now a candidate should not take it this way, that it's only at the end of 10 years 5% will be calculated. It means that for every 10 years interest will be calculated at 5% per annum, but it will be not added to the principal. That means the principal for the first 10 years would remain the same, that is 1000 rupees, but the interest will keep on, interest also remains the same, but it's only all the accumulated interest of 10 years is added to the principal at the end of 10 years, and after adding, then that becomes the principal for the next 10 years. So in short, it is a very unusual question, a combination of simple and compound interest. That is, for the first few years, for the first 10 years, simple interest has to be calculated at the rate of 5%. And then the simple interest has to be added to the principal, which will become the principal for the next 10 years, but that will also be calculated at simple interest. So let's have it for the first 10 years. Now hence for first 10 years, interest. So in short, this is a simple interest case. Interest is going to be PIT, that is 1000 into 0.05 into 10, which will turn out to be 500. Right? Now at the end of 10 years, principal becomes 1000 plus 500, that is 1500. If it had been just simple interest, the principal would have continued to remain 1000, but here it's told that after 10 years the interest gets added to the principal, so it becomes 1500. Then after, now the principal is like this, you need to find out amount. Is 2000, R is the same, that is 0.05, and you have to find T. T after 10 years. So now again, we have to see how it becomes. So A is 2000, so A is equal to P into 1 plus IT or RT, which turns out to be 2000 is equal to 1500 into 1 plus 0.05 T. This becomes 200 by 150 or 20 by 15, which is nothing but 4 by 3. 5 4s, I guess. 4 by 3 minus 1, which is equal to 0.05 T, which turns out to be 1 by 3, which is equal to 0.05 T. 4 minus 3. So it turns out to be 1 divided by 0.15, which turns out to be roughly, it turns out to be 6 and 6.66 years. That is 6 points. So T will turn out to be T turns out to be 1 upon 0.15, which is the same as 100 by 15, which is 6.66 years after 10 years. So first 10 years, it becomes 1500. After another 6.66 years, it becomes 2000. So net, it is 10 plus 6.6, 16.66 years, which is the same as 16 and 2 by 3 years. So after 16 and 2 by 3 years, the amount turns to be 2000. So candidate should read the question. It is not possible that for 5% interest is not calculated for the first 10 years. Interest is calculated every year, but it remains the same. It is not added. The principal remains the same for the first 10 years. And after 10 years, the accumulated interest gets added to the original principal, and then it becomes the principal for the next 10 years. So compounding takes place once in 10 years, but interest is calculated as simple interest every year. Right. So we have 16 and 2 by 3 years. All right.